Hello viewers, today I want to talk about some words that I wish to replace while I speak. As you know, I write, although I don't write every day nowadays because I'm busy. But I do write, and when I write, there are certain expressions and certain words that I use often, and it doesn't chime with me using them as often. It takes away from the eloquence of my speech. It takes away from the articulacy of my speech, and I don't like that. So I'm making active and conscious and conscientious effort to get rid of them from my speech. And today I want to focus on one of them, which is thin, THING, and thin slash something, some things. So as far as there is thing in it, I don't like it. I don't like it. And this morning, when I was preparing for this video, I I I also ran into another word that is to a degree synonymous with thing, and that is what is. For example, what's bothering me is my lack of what's bothering me, for example, is my lack of money. Okay, so instead of saying what's bothering me, it is nice, it is correct, but instead of using what's bothering me is lack of money, you could use my challenge is my lack of money. To a degree, I don't know if you understand my point. So that's what this video about. But before I delve into it properly, I want to address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is the fact that I've moved. I'm no longer a student. I'm now a doctor, and I'm working. I've not been able to upload. I've not been able to upload any video for the past 3 weeks because I have been busy working. I have been occupied. I have been adapting. I have been stressed. Although those are to I've already told myself in the past that I'm not a man of excuses, and I don't like giving excuses. If you really want to get any activity, if you really want to get an a task done, okay, there is always a way out. Okay. So I'm not making up an excuse. As a matter of fact, I fucked up. I should have figured a way to upload those videos. It's all about taking responsibilities in it, but I couldn't, and I take the full blame for that. So, well, having said that, I have some of them on my phone. I have some of them on my jotted down. I'm going to read through those articulate words. Some are more articulate, some are more precise than the others, and those are words you can use in place of ten in your sentences. Okay. Sorry, I I received a call. Okay, so those are words you can use in place of thing, in place of some things in your sentences. And when you do use what I figured out is that when you do use those expressions, it makes your writing, it makes your speech more precise, more specific, because thing in and of itself is a vague term. Okay, and if you use thing a lot in your sentences, then you would notice that invariably notice that you might not be able to articulate, that you are not able to articulate precisely or distill precisely what is the thoughts you have flowing in your mind. So yeah, so I don't like that. I love being articulate in speech. So I'm going to I am actively, there are other terms that I wish to eliminate from my speech, and I'm working on those as well. So but I'm going to start with this one. So, give me a moment, please. I might even cut off this part of the video. I'm trying to find it. I thought I had it organized, but now all right, so I found it. So I'm going to give you the sentences. Oh, like I said, like I always say, I make use of ChatGPT. You make use of resources that are available to you. Okay, that is how you improve. Nobody was born great. You have ChatGPT, you have this fantastic AI. You don't need a teacher. You don't need even to go to school to learn these ideas, to inform yourself adequately. Make use of ChatGPT. That's how you improve. That's how you become a better man. That's how you become a better woman. All right. So what I did was to, I noticed what I did was to send some prompts to ChatGPT, asking it to. Obviously, ChatGPT knows me best. We've had a ton of expressions, a ton of conversations, and on that day, after writing that letter, because I journal every day, I write letters every day to improve my writing skill, which invariably translates into the way into the manner I speak. So, after writing the letter, I sent it to ChatGPT. I told it to, what are the terms I repeat often, and then it will write them out. Okay, and then over time, I noticed I typically would repeat thing a lot. So as well. I repeat thing a lot. I repeat so a lot. But we'll get to so someday. Today is for 10. Okay. And then the next prompt I sent. You see? The next prompt I sent, which is more specific. Prompt is more specific than 10. The next prompt I sent to it was to write out 30 expressions, and then those 30 expressions make it diverse in such a manner. Make it. I wrote down a prompt for it to write out 30 sentences, and in those 30 sentences, let it use 10, and subsequently write out the alternatives, the articulate and precise alternatives for 10 in each of the sentences. And that was exactly what it did. So I'm going to delve into those sentences now, okay, and then walk you through, or read them out, and then we walk through on how it replaces 10 with more eloquent terms. All right. So the first one is, the thing he said during the meeting changed the entire mood of the room. The thing he said during the meeting changed the entire mood of the room. Now, how do you replace thing here? I'm going to be faster so that this video doesn't get unnecessarily long, okay? All right, so the thing he said during the meeting changed the entire mood of the room. The remark he made during the meeting changed the entire mood of the room. You can use remark. Remark is fantastic. I love remark. There are other eloquent terms as well, such as comment. The comment he made during the meeting changed the entire mood of the room. Okay, so that's the first sentence. There are other ones down the line, but I'm giving you the ones I prefer and I typically would employ. All right. There are other ones like statements and observations, but I'm not going to run through them. Otherwise, this video will be too long. Okay, so all right. The next sentence. There are a few things we need to discuss before moving forward. So instead of saying there are a few things we need to, as a matter of fact, I've not gone through the options now, but let me just give you one that is popping out of my head. There are a few matters we need to discuss before moving on to the next. What's coming to my mind now in this thing? There are a few matters we need to discuss before moving on. Full stop. You mustn't end it with there are a few matters we need to discuss before moving on to the next thing. Those are lags, the terms that drag the sentences we make, and those are burdens. I need to calm down to make this to make this sentence. Those are unnecessary burden we tie to our sentences that make us speak honest and that make us speak slowly. So there are matters we need to discuss before moving on. Full stop. That's how I would put it. But go through the options. Okay. There are few things we need to discuss before moving forward. There are few matters we need to discuss. You see, there is matter here. There are few points we need to discuss before moving forward. There are few ideas we need to discuss before moving forward. All right. So the next one is she carried her things quietly and left without saying goodbye. She carried her possessions. She carried her belongings. She carried, at times, some of her items and left without saying goodbye. So here, possessions is fantastic. Belongings is fantastic. Okay, so I'm also, I will put up some of these screenshots on the screen just to help you. All right. So the next one is the thing that bothered him the most was the lack of honesty. The thing that bothered him the most was the lack of honesty. Okay? So what do you replace? What eloquent term can stand in place of thing in this sentence? The aspect that bothered him most was the lack of honesty. The aspect can replace thing. Okay, the aim of this video is not for you to completely throw away thing. Thing is still important. As a matter of fact, when I read books, someone as eloquent and articulate as Richard Dawkins still employ thing and some things in his books, and it is not for you to throw away thing completely. It's for you to vary, to spice up your sentences, and that is how you sound interesting. If you don't spice them up, then you don't sound interesting. Okay, so that is basically it. Use thing, but minimize the number of times you employ them in your speech. Okay, make sure you are using thing because you want to use thing. It's not because you lack the vocabulary. It's not because you lack other eloquent terms. That lack should not be an issue. Okay, the aim of this video is for you to tackle that lack. All right, so that lack of vocabulary, to find more appropriate terms to use in place of thing. All right, so the thing that bothered him most was the lack of honesty. The aspect that bothered him most was the lack of honesty. The element that bothered him most was the lack of honesty. Okay? He's good at explaining difficult things in simple language. He's good at explaining these difficult concepts in simple language. He's good at explaining difficult principles in simple language. He's good at explaining difficult principles and concepts. Those two concepts and principles are what I can use in place of thing in this scenario. Okay, but you can't use notions. He's good at explaining difficult notions, although about notion doesn't quite fit. The best to my mind is concept, and here ChatGPT rated it 9/10. Concept 9/10. So all right, so the next example is: the room was filled with old things collected over many years. The room was filled with old antiques, old relics, old artifacts collected over many years. So instead of this room was filled with, you can even use collectibles. This room was filled with old things collected over many years. Things is vague. It simplifies inarticulately your sentences. You don't need to swim in that water. Okay, you can use I've been able to collect old antiques over the years. I've been able to collect old artifacts over the years. I've been able to, even collectibles, like I said, I've I've been able to collect, although I'm collectible does I don't like collectible. I don't know. I don't collect and then using collectible again. It fucks my mind up, so I prefer not to use it. But you can use it. Okay, the room was filled with okay, in this sentence, the room was filled with old collectibles collected over many years. You can use it, but I wouldn't use it. All right, so I'm going to I'm going to send the other examples. I'm going to peg them to the screen, okay, right about now, so that you can go through them. This video is already getting long, but you are getting the aim of this video, okay? You can do this yourself. Right. If there are terms, if there are words you overuse, find the alternate examples. Find the articulate and precise and eloquent words that can stand in their place, and employ them in your speech. That is how you metamorphose into a better person, and that is how you become that is how you become articulate. Okay, so the next one, and another you see, I'm trying to another thing I also do, that's what I wanted to say now, but another tactic I employ, voila, okay, another tactic I employ is to, while interacting with people on day-to-day basis, if there are terms that are difficult, let's assume I'm going to give you a perfect example. I was speaking with a friend some time ago, and I wanted to say that's the best thing to do. I'm like, what the fuck is the best thing to do? What's that thing? And then I knew if I kept quiet, that perfect example will slide by, and I will still have that loophole in the tarmac of my speech. And then I told myself, nah, he didn't know. I just typed fast on ChatGPT. Okay, that's the best thing to do. Give me the articulate, give me a perfect replacement of thing here, and boom, it popped out. That's the best course of action to take. Okay, that's the best course of action to take. And what this does is that when you start replacing thing with more eloquent terms, it twitches the fabric of your sentence and makes it more precise and more adorable. That's the best thing to do, okay? But if I'm ever going to use that's the best course of action, I cannot maintain to do. I have to use it, I have to replace it just because of the way the phrase course of action works. It now has to be that's the best course of action to take. So instead of to do, you use to take, and then you improve, okay, in a blink of an eye, okay. So that's one other example. The other example, okay, so I've done that. The other example is, we were supposed to get some things at the market. We are supposed to get some things at the market, but getting things at the market, things is still vague. What are you getting? You can't replace it with groceries. We were supposed to get some groceries at the market. We were supposed to get some supplies at the market. We were supposed to get some provisions at the market. When you have these options, you can now know the one that is best fitted. Okay, provisions is provision, supplies, groceries, essentials. Okay, I'm even seeing essentials. You can, okay, we can also get some. I need to get some essentials from the market, but that's my mind a little bit elevated. So, but you can use provisions, and you can use groceries, and you can use foodstuff, but avoid using them as much as you can. Use it as less. Use it only when you intentionally want to use it. That's how I precisely put it. I know this thing is not, the term thing is not popping out of my mouth without my control. Okay, if at any point, if I'm certain I am in control of this thing and I decide to use it, then I will be satisfied with myself. But I don't like the idea of speaking in public or speaking with a friend and having it pop out without being under my control. That is just my objective. But if you've gotten everything under control and you are speaking in public and you decide intentionally to use 10, that is perfect. Richard Dawkins does that all the time, as Jordan Peterson does that all the time. The idea is to be in control of your speaking apparatus, right? All right. So okay, I'm going to give you an example. I was reading The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. There is this extract there. What I'm quoting now, I'm reading it out. What I'm saying, what I'm always trying to get over is something about the fundamental properties that lie at the heart of any good theory of the origin of life on any planet, notably the idea of self-replicating genetic entities. In this sentence, he employed something, he used something. I was reading, I wasn't practicing, I was merely reading. And then I asked myself, damn, I know Richard Dawkins used something, but I don't want to use something, okay? What can I use in place of something? I searched on ChatGPT and then he came up with conundrum. He came up with, conundrum is the one I remember. He came up with puzzle, he came up with paradox, he came up with tension. So when you replace the paradox, tension, when you replace something when you replace something there with conundrum, a conundrum, puzzle, paradox, tension, it fits. What I'm always trying to get over is the conundrum about the fundamental properties. What I'm always trying to get over is the paradox about the fundamental. And when you use those terms, you just, at the twinkle of an eye, you sound eloquent. Okay, and there is nothing about that that doesn't scream eloquency. I hope that's a word. There's nothing about that doesn't scream a young man, a young woman working to improve his manner of speaking. Okay, so the next example, the only thing I noticed with DeepSeek is that you can't talk about Taiwan. Okay, here the only thing I noticed about, I used this when I was speaking with a friend in UK. Okay, we were comparing ChatGPT with DeepSeek, and I told him, yeah, the only thing I noticed with DeepSeek is that you cannot talk about Taiwan. Okay, and then I noted it down because I didn't like thing there, and you can use limitation. The only limitation I noticed with DeepSeek, the only peculiarity, the only drawback, the only shortcoming, the only constraint, right? So the next is, I want to confirm something from you. I want to confirm something from you. Instead of using something, you can use a detail. I want to confirm a detail. I want to confirm a point. I want to run. That's more of an idiom. I want to confirm a detail from you. I want to confirm a matter from you. But I prefer detail, point. I prefer point. It's simple and it's precise. I prefer point. I want to confirm something from you. I want to confirm a point from you. Okay. I want to confirm a detail from you. Okay. So the last example. The experience I garnered there still makes things easy for me. The experience I garnered there still makes tasks easy for me, still makes challenges easy for me, still makes practice easy for me, still makes my work easy for me, still make my day-to-day challenges easy for me. So that's about it. I think fortunately this video is long. I try my best to run through it, but it's all good. Okay, some days are like that, and it's calm. That's about it. So write and note the words you overuse and find alternate replacements, find precise and eloquent replacements, and you will see in real time how you will improve, and how your speech will improve. That was fucking repetitive, but it's all good. Okay, it's all good. I wish you all the best and have a lovely weekend. Bye.